Ready to take the next step? No matter your financial need, Goppert Financial Bank is your local lending solution. From refinancing or purchasing your new home, to growing your small business, to taking your farming operation to the next level, we will take that next step with you. Stop by or visit us online at goppertfb.com to learn more.
Hi, this is Connie Whitlock, and this week I got to interview two residents of Pleasant Hill, Alan Williams and Jim Purvis. First up is Alan Williams.
Exactly. My drum set's a really good drum set. I've got a Yamaha custom recording series set.
Really? And you don't play?
No.
Is it set up at your house?
No, they're stacked up in the spare room.
In that 100-year-old
If I set them up
house?
and played them, I'd scare the crap out of my little dog.
What's that dog's name?
Molly.
That's what was it?
Miniature applehead Chihuahua.
Yeah, this thing's like that big.
She's tiny. She weighs about 4.5, 5 pounds.
Right. When I was doing the interview with you guys about the 100, because your house is 100 years old, and I was just remember Molly. She was so adorable.
She is a good dog.
And Sharon, your mother, is a doll.
And most Chihuahuas are a one-person dog. She loves everybody.
So tell me a little bit about the house that you grew up in.
Oh wow! When we first moved in there, I was 12. My bedroom was in the front.
It was in the front. So, okay, if you look at the house, was it on the right or the left?
The left.
Okay, it was the left.
And it was haunted.
No.
Yes. Now, some people say, oh, I don't believe in haunted houses. But I'd have stuff moved around in my room at night. Where I said it'd be someplace else. And one night, somebody sat down on the edge of the bed. My little dog slept with me. And we both bolted to the hallway.
No way.
Yeah.
What do you think that was?
The ghost.
I know. Okay, but who?
My sister had seen it. It's weird. Yes, my sister had seen it in the hallway. It was an old lady wearing a house dress with an apron on. Now I never saw her, but that's who I.
Okay, so all right, this house used to be a church.
No, the churches were destroyed by tornado.
Okay.
Both of them.
But there was a Methodist church. Were they both Methodist churches? And they were both destroyed by tornadoes?
The second one wasn't a church anymore. They had sold it to the school.
To the public school? And it had a what would it have in it?
Indoor basketball court. It was the first one in town.
So I bet our first tournaments were on where your house is.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, what history.
Yeah. So,
okay, and you tell me a little bit about your house then. Because maybe we'll figure out who this lady is.
Yeah. Well, it's a 2-story house. It's 3 bedrooms and a bath upstairs. And
who used to own it,
Oh,
Alan?
gosh. The original people that built it were McDougal.
McDougal?
They were the ones that built it.
So someone probably died in there. Mr. McDougal?
I don't know.
Maybe his wife?
But there was four different families before us that lived there.
Okay.
Including the McDougals.
Yeah. Have you seen anything recently?
No, not in years. There hadn't been any noises or anything.
Maybe you had to be a kid.
That could be. They say that kids are more susceptible to that.
To the I don't know.
The spirits.
Yeah. Oh, that's just creepy.
It is.
I'm sorry. There's ghosts in Pleasant Hill. Hey, where was this story a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Put it in the paper for Halloween. But so your dad used to own. Let's talk about your dad a little bit.
Okay, my dad when I was a kid was a truck driver. He's what they used to call bed bug hauler. He was a furniture mover.
Okay.
And
bed bug.
He got out of that and he started working for an auto parts store in Blue Springs.
Yeah.
And the guys that owned that bought one in Buckner and he managed it and then eventually bought it.
So he owned and managed an auto parts store for years.
Called A&W Auto Parts.
And then was also a truck driver and bought the house on Armstrong, which was, do you
1978,
mind? No. Which one is it? It's the one across the street from the elementary school.
Right. Armstrong and Olive.
On the corner of Armstrong and Olive. So, and tell us about the glass.
Well, several years ago, I noticed I saw a piece of stained glass. Then I got to looking around, and I found, I think 54. Isn't that what I told you? 54 pieces of various sizes, ranging from about.
What color were they?
reds, greens, blues.
So they were a church public window?
Mm-hmm. That's what I've imagined.
You also said that you've found the Old Walkway.
Right, you can still see it. It's there still.
So if you walk by your house,
if
you
come
can
up
see
the
it.
first set of steps off the sidewalk.
What's it look like? It's like, is it concrete?
It's a stone.
It's a stone. So they didn't have concrete.
And I power washed it last summer, and there's actually etchings in it.
So if you go and are you making a mess on the table?
I am.
So if you go and you walking down Armstrong, you can see the etchings in what are the
you
etchings?
You got to come up the first set of steps.
Okay, so what are the etchings?
It's just patterns. There's no.
Are you sure that's just not over time deterioration?
It's pattern.
Oh,
you can see pattern. You couldn't see it before I power washed it. It was gray.
Okay.
And now it's a lighter color, and you can see the.
You sure it's not from the power washer?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the first thing.
That's a hard stone.
Okay.
And it's definite pattern. You can see lines.
Oh, okay. So it's like a floral type.
Little dotted lines and stuff.
Cool.
It is pretty neat.
And it's a rock.
And I had no idea that all that stuff was in that rock until I power washed it.
Wow.
But there's also two pieces on the spots on the back where you can see where railings were mounted.
They did have iron back then.
Uh-huh.
Tell us a little bit about what your memories are at Pleasant Hill. I'm sorry, go ahead.
When I was a kid living on Country Club Drive, I remember Whiteman Air Force Base. They flew all kinds of maneuvers over Pleasant Hill.
Really?
Yeah, I remember seeing helicopters with things hanging underneath of them.
What
That
about?
was pretty cool.
What was your hangout? He's thinking.
Different places, different times.
Different places, different times.
Yeah,
Be specific.
when I was a kid, we didn't really have a hangout. We just all over town.
Well, what was all over town then?
Right.
What was all over town?
Not as much as there is now, but the downtown was cooler. It had all kinds of stores and stuff. Now it's neat that it's coming back, but a lot of it's just antiques. There was grocery stores, there was a meat store, there was shoe stores, there was a jewelry store.
Did you ever go into any of these shops?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
You don't remember?
But
what about shoes? Do you ever buy your shoes at the shoe store?
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Did they repair shoes too?
Well, they're up until I don't think he's still there, but just recently there was a guy here that did shoe repair.
I wasn't when I was here.
And if you go down to the end of the street here and turn left, it was in them old buildings.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think he's.
Do you remember
anymore.
Gray's?
Yes, that was an
I always
awesome
ask
place.
people about Gray's.
That was an awesome place.
Oh, wasn't it? It was
just fun to go in there and look around.
Yeah.
Because they had stuff from way back. And the neat thing is, if you needed that way back thing,
yeah,
it had that price tag on it.
Yeah,
that's what you paid.
Yeah.
Instead of you look it up in the book, see what it is now.
Do you know everybody says that? Do they even realize how much money they probably lost by doing that?
I know.
I guess they didn't care.
Probably not. They made money, so.
They made money. They were good. They were good people.
And I remember when the second floor collapsed.
Were you there?
No.
No?
But it was big news in town.
Yeah. So what happened?
They had, forget what it was, stored up there, heavy. And you can feel the trains vibrating in buildings as they go through town. Well, eventually it brought all that weight down.
Okay, so I thought it was snow.
It was stuff on the second floor.
It was they had heavy stuff on the second floor.
Mom could tell you what it was, but I can't remember.
Yeah, your mom would be a good interview. She probably remembers a lot of things. But she remembers the last time the train stopped in Pleasant Hill because she brought the Girl Scouts.
Right, she had a Girl Scout troop. She was a troop leader.
Yep.
And she took the Girl Scouts up to Crown Center for the day and then got on a train, came back home.
I thought that was really cool.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and she was on the last train that stopped in Pleasant Hill. I think that's pretty. That was in the 70s. We want to change that so that actually they stop here again.
That would be neat.
We
have a nice depot.
We have a nice depot, and we have a nice town here that I think is worth visiting, don't you? So
I think people would ride the train to work every morning and back too, rather than having to drive.
What else do you remember downtown?
Well, I was telling you earlier, the drugstore where I'd buy the cinnamon oil. and make cinnamon toothpicks and sell them for 10 cents.
Okay, yes, the entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's what you should do. You should.
Couldn't make money at that
You should
now.
make money. Somehow you could organic toothpicks. We're going green here. You can do it instead of toothpicks. You can do plastic and cinnamony.
I remember the theater where People's is now. It was a theater, and I don't remember what year Jaws came out. Me and my sister went and saw it.
You saw Jaws down here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then there was
a lot of movies down here.
You said something. One of my favorite stories that you were telling me is about the popcorn.
Oh, Carl's popcorn stand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it's just plain popcorn, but he sold a lot of it.
Wow.
And the trains, when they'd come through town, they'd stop. The engineers would get off, get a bag of popcorn, and get back on the train and go on down the tracks.
Oh, and you were saying about
the mailbag. Yes, at the
That's
depot,
funny.
they'd hang a mailbag out on a hook, and when a train would go by, there'd be a guy that would catch that.
Okay, whoa. There was a guy on the train that would just do this.
I think he'd catch it with a hook, too.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
Well, it was hanging on a hook from the depot.
Well, so what did they do? Just throw the mail?
No, it would be hanging on a hook at the depot.
No. I'm saying like the train guy. Okay, so there's a hook, and they would just do this, right? And they take it, but how would they drop it off?
I think it would be a hook. Well, they'd take it to Kansas City to the...
But how would they drop it off? Would they just throw it out?
No, they didn't deliver it.
They didn't deliver.
No, they
took
it to the post office in Kansas City.
Oh.
Where it would be distributed.
So they just had outgoing. So how'd the incoming come?
I don't know.
You're not helping me here. You're not helping me, Alan. I need to know how the post office got their
Probably
mail.
by truck.
Yeah, probably. That's funny. I mean, the trains went this
But
way too.
I remember seeing that as a kid. Thought, wow, that's neat.
That is neat. I mean, I've never heard of that.
Really?
No,
Huh.
I have never heard of.
Now this was back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Probably even
And
early
I
70s.
was here somewhere.
in the
Not
70s?
here, but
Yeah.
not here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was on the earth. Yeah. But okay, you also said there was a meat.
Yeah, Lester's Meat Market.
Lester's Meat Market.
Right.
That would feed your dog.
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, we had a big bird dog named Mel Mutt, and he would make rounds around town, just like I would on my bicycle.
Yeah.
And he'd go to the back door of Lester's Meat Market, and Lester would feed him scraps.
Wow.
This dog was something else.
Okay, tell me about this.
Oh, he was big. And Dad built a doghouse for him. Oh, I'm recalling another story too. There was Mel Mutt, and we had a dog named Tippy, was like a retriever, and we had a French poodle in the house. Well, the poodle made Dad mad one night, and he kicked him out of the house, put him in there was Mel Mutt.
Your dad was mad at the poodle?
And it was cold that night.
Ooh.
And the next morning he comes out, and he can see this little white tail sticking up between them two dogs. The poodle was between the two dogs sleeping.
Aw, keeping warm.
Uh-huh.
Aw, that's sweet. Dogs are a big deal in Pleasant Hill too. So
Oh, yeah.
I guess nowadays it's a growing trend.
Well, there's a lot of dog lovers.
Well, and COVID also has
Mm-hmm.
everybody got a dog.
Yeah.
So I was kind of worried that when everybody kind of went back to work, if that would fit their lifestyle.
Right. What the dogs, what they're used to them being home all day.
Mm-hmm.
What's the dog going to do then?
Mm-hmm. So what's the one thing that you can remember about Pleasant Hill that you wish it was still around, other than the size? Because, I mean, something that you think could practically be in Pleasant Hill.
Well, the theater. That was a hot spot for...
Yeah, we don't have a theater.
No.
Oh, that's interesting. Because Harrisonville has a theater in Lee Summit, but we seem to be kind of in the middle of nowhere, but yet valuable. So where do you see Pleasant Hill going?
Well, I really don't know. If we don't get any industry, it's not going to go anywhere.
I wonder what industry we could get, though.
It's just basically a bedroom community still, and it has always been.
Yep.
People live here, shop elsewhere.
Yep. You live here.
I shop elsewhere.
Yes.
I hate to say this, but that
you shop elsewhere?
Yeah, that Price Chopper out there is just, I call it Price Chopper convenience store. It's about a third of the size of the regular Price Chopper.
I bet if we had a meat market down here, do you think?
I think it might go.
I think it might go.
I think it would. There's one in Windsor that sells local meat. He's a butcher down there.
Windsor, Missouri?
And he does good business.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And there's a lot of little boutique butcher shops nowadays.
Yeah.
here and
I
there.
bet you if that came back to a place like this, because we don't have the competition grocery store wise.
That's true.
We don't. I mean, in Lee Summit, there's Price Chopper, Hy-Vee,
several of them,
Aldi,
huge. Yeah.
things like that. But ours doesn't have to compete.
Right.
So,
I think it'd be great to have a butcher shop here.
Oh, that would be wonderful to have local meat, local this, local, and we have a lot of local things happening down here.
That's true.
That's a great idea. The popcorn idea, I think I'm going to steal.
That's fine.
I like that idea. Just have a popcorn machine just going.
Right.
10 cents.
Some store here doesn't one of them down here have a popcorn store?
They used to at before Press Monkey was Trail Stop.
That's right, yeah.
And she is not down here. I think you still can buy her popcorn across the street at American Dwelling, but it's not like
right.
Not like what you're talking about, which I think is.
Back in 2014, Mom and I took a trip up to Iowa to the Manna Colonies, and there was a popcorn shop there that had 112 different flavors of popcorn.
112.
They had Mountain Dew flavored.
Wouldn't it be cool?
Wouldn't it?
Yeah. That'd be a lot of work, though.
It would.
Yeah.
But that's all they did was popcorn.
Popcorn, right. There's a lot of ideas that could come down here. Is there,
yeah.
So any other things that you remember? Were there like a little store where you got your little hamburgers or?
There was we used to call it the Camel Hut. It's where the Nick's is now.
Where's Nick's?
No, it was not at that shop, but it was a little building next to it.
Huh.
Little drive-in.
Okay.
And I remember when I was a teenager, pull in there and get an Italian steak sandwich and a bag of fries and this chocolate malt. And you could get it for $3.50.
Well, yeah. And that was probably different. And yeah.
But I think
that would be more like $5 or $6 now.
I think the health department ended up closing them down.
Oh, really? Do we want to go there?
No.
Okay. No?
No.
No? I wonder why.
And then there was the Sugar Shack.
I heard about the Sugar Shack. They had
about
sugar.
where TNT Barbecue is now.
Where's TNT Barbecue? There's no TNT Barbecue anymore, is there?
Not
it's Long's now.
Long's, yeah.
Yeah.
Long's
See,
now,
time is going fast.
I know.
It was can't even keep up with it.
It was about there, and they were like a bakery. They had pinball machines in there.
Oh, see, that would be great.
Yeah.
Well, and now down here at Legends, they have pinball machines. I think they have a pinball machine. Oh, I know Canteen has a pinball machine, but they have the old arcades now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if you go down to Legends,
out.
Yeah, you can play for a quarter or whatever. You can play.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Centipede or whatever. Do you remember Centipede?
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I remember Centipede.
Gerbs.
Gerbs.
Yeah.
I remember Gerbs. I've been here that long.
Originally, they were in that building that Napa's in, but on the other end.
Okay, now
where the dollar store is.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I remember when they were where the Price Chopper is.
Yeah.
So they were where Napa is.
On the opposite end of the building, where the tobacco store and dollar store, the dollar.
Oh, gotcha. We were on this side of town.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk to Jim Purvis.
How long have you lived in Pleasant Hill?
I've lived here off and on probably since '57. Graduated from high school here, and then was away for 18 years and came back in 1980 and have lived here ever since.
Do you know that's a trend in Pleasant Hill? Every time I interview somebody, I was gone for a while and then I came back. So there is something about Pleasant Hill that brings people back.
Yes.
What do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a nice community. You know people. People are friendly. I came back to this area after I decided to leave the education field. I had been to several stops teaching and as a high school principal. And so then I came back here and went to work in the insurance business.
Oh, here in Pleasant Hill. Okay,
Yeah.
So what insurance company was it?
I was with Farm Bureau Insurance. The office was in Harrisonville.
Okay.
But I lived in Pleasant Hill, and I can remember the gentlemen that were in the office at that time. Of course, I was the new person, so they told me that I got everything. I think it was like south of east of 7 Highway to the county line.
Okay.
And
okay.
so that didn't leave me a whole lot of the county, but it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, you were able to pull it off.
Yes.
And now
yeah.
you're a real estate agent for Reese Nichols. How's
Yes.
that going?
I enjoy the work. I've always enjoyed helping people, and I've noticed that in my 3 careers, education, insurance, and real estate, that it seems like you wind up helping people with their problems, with what they need, and that sort of thing. So, and I enjoy that.
I don't know if you know this, but next week we are celebrating American Education Week.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about your job as an educator and your experience.
I went to school, got a major in math and a minor in industrial education.
What's industrial education? What's that mean?
That would be like shop and drafting
Gotcha.
and woodworking and that sort of thing. Enjoyed that. My first job was at Glasgow, Missouri, and
Okay.
I started the industrial arts department there. So we wound up buying equipment and materials and getting that started in Glasgow. And then I had a chance to go to Lebanon, Missouri, and I was there for 4 years and was a coach and a teacher there. And then
What did you coach?
I was a assistant football coach. I was a head track coach, junior high basketball coach.
Wow. So do you follow all of the sports in Pleasant Hill?
I try to keep up with
Yeah.
the sports. It's a little harder, and it's when I knew the people a little bit
Yeah.
better. Now I've gotten a little older, and so
Yeah.
now we're down to grandchildren and that sort of thing. And sometimes you kind of lose track of, okay, now how is this one connected with that
Right,
person that I
right,
knew
right.
in the past?
So, okay, do you find that your family is kind of spread all over Pleasant Hill then?
Basically, my family, like many, have spread out all over the United States, and so it's not. I don't have as many family members right here in Pleasant Hill anymore.
But they'll probably be back.
I'm not sure. I've got a son in Texas. I've got a daughter in Olathe.
Well, that's not that far.
No, that's
Right.
not. And one in Kansas City. So that's-
How far back does your family go in Pleasant Hill?
my granddad and my uncle and my dad bought a farm east of town in 1946, I believe it was. And so a lot of people later on, where the Sherwood property was, is where my was a Purvis, and that, of course, Purvis Road is out there. That was along the west side of the property. So,
And that's Purvis Road is named after your family?
yes.
No.
I'm not sure I can take any credit for it, but my granddad and my uncle and my dad, maybe they get a little credit.
But
there.
every time you drive down that road, you've got to feel like a little proud, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not sure how the county did that. I think it was whoever was on the northeast corner of wherever that road came out got to be
Got to be- had the
named after
name.
them or something. I don't know.
I want to change Gray to Whitlock Road.
There you go.
You get on that, Monty. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you remember about Pleasant Hill historically. What did downtown look like?
Downtown, of course, we didn't have the open spaces and stuff. And people back many years ago, of course, people came to town more on weekends and stuff. Everything was more of a rural life, and so you had lots of people out in the country, and they would come to town and they would park and shop, and everybody was running around. And as kids, we were up and down the streets and stuff like that. And we go over to Carl's popcorn stand and get some popcorn and just that sort of thing.
That's not the first time I've heard about the popcorn stand.
Right, that was a popular place.
And so what kind of popcorn do they have?
Oh gosh, it was popcorn. popcorn.
It was just, did they make caramel? Did they make anything
I think it
else?
was mostly just plain
regular popcorn.
Right.
And that was a big treat back then.
And soft drinks, yes.
And soft drinks.
Yeah.
What did you call soft? Did you call them soda? Sody pop?
I've always called it pop. But
Pop?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
soda pop.
That's an ongoing argument of what it's really called.
Yes,
Soda, sody pop, soda
Yeah.
pop, right? So you said pop. So
Yeah.
your vote is in. What
Yeah.
else do you remember about First Street?
Oh, Oh, there was shoe stores, clothing stores, hardware store, and of course we had 2 or 3 pharmacies along the street. Campbell's. Of course, my family knew the Campbells, so we went to the Campbell's drugstore, but also Chamber Buckner was right there next door, and so we were always up on that end of trying to figure out how to get a ice cream cone or a malt or something like that.
What year did you move back?
After I graduated and was gone.
Was it 56?
Oh,
I can't remember.
I moved. I grew up more in the Strasburg area.
Okay.
And I came to Pleasant Hill to grade school first half of my freshman year. And then I moved down to the Garden City area and went to school there 7 years.
Okay.
And then moved back here halfway through the 7th grade.
Okay. And then you moved away for 18 years, and then you came back.
Right.
What year?
Came back in 1980.
1980?
Yes.
So the grocery stores downtown were gone maybe by then? Probably Gerb's had come in and taken over.
That was right at the beginning. There used to be Ostermeyer's used to have a meat store downtown, but yeah.
That would be nice, a meat store.
Yeah, Gerb's is
now Gerb's, and then now Price
out
Chopper.
on the highway.
Yeah.
And it was right next door. It went in next door to the Greenhorn Drive-In, which was the occasion, which is now. I think it's vacant right now.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's a roof or something that needs to be repaired. So
What do you miss the most? That's not here anymore.
Oh gosh.
That you wish was still around. It's a deep question, guys.
That's a deep question. I don't.
You don't want any of it back? What?
Well, it was all good times.
Or was this all
probably just friends that have moved on and gone other places, and so you don't have as many.
Oh.
And my one of my real good friends all through school has passed on now. So that so it's one of those things where
Right.
There's not as many people around that you grew up with
Right.
and can share experiences that you had when you were back in high school.
Well, now you have us.
Well, that's true.
There you go. Come by the times.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this about Pleasant Hill now. What are you involved in?
Well, I've been involved with the Chamber of Commerce since probably 1985. I've been the president of the chamber, and I've been involved with United Way since probably about 2000. So,
And we just did an article on the United Way.
yes.
So tell me a little bit about the United Way.
Well, the United Way was established here in Pleasant Hill in 1959. There were some ladies in the community that thought that there was people that needed assistance. It's actually called the Pleasant Hill Community United Way. We have never in Pleasant Hill joined completely with the national organization because we wanted to make sure that we could spend the money as we saw fit and locally. So we've kind of held out, and most of the United Ways in the smaller communities, a lot of them have joined in with the larger United Ways. I always like to throw in Harrisonville because that was always our that was who we competed with mostly when I was in school. But Harrisonville has joined the Kansas City United Way. So
Pleasant Hill still has its own little United Way
Yes,
that
yes.
we help local people.
Right.
Right, and you can donate to that by going to...
You could donate to that by writing a check and sending it to Post Office Box 288, if I remember correctly. There's ways that you could go online, and I think we have a Venmo number that people can use. The younger generation, I'm not sure I would even know how to do that. And there is a code, a set of numbers that you have to put in so that if you're working for a large manufacturing company or a large company like Caterpillar or something like that, if you want to contribute to United Way and you want it to go to the Pleasant Hill Community United Way, then you put that number in.
And I think we have that, and I can put that on the screen for people.
Right.
So what about Pleasant Hill? Are you? What else are you involved with? I mean, do you go to city council? Do you, or what do you think about Pleasant Hill?
Well, I think probably what I'm doing mostly is, as you get to the point where I know real estate, and so right now I'm working with we're trying to help get 3 different houses built. And last week, my wife and I, who's a realtor, we wound up listing and selling 2 houses last week. So
in Pleasant Hill?
In Pleasant Hill. So we're staying active.
How do you think Pleasant Hill will grow? I mean, in what directions? Because you're real estate, right?
You have the natural boundaries to the south, and you have some natural boundaries to the west. So that has limited the growth, I think, somewhat. Mostly east and north has been where the growth has been.
Okay.
With Big Creek, it kind of cuts things off, and until we get to the point where there's utilities, particularly sewer and water, in these other areas, why we probably won't have growth there.
So annexing, we would have to annex. We can't annex across 291. It has to be attached to the city, right?
Well, I think we've annexed up to 150 on the west side of 7
it's
Highway.
Not city. It's still rural, right?
Well, yeah, that's still rural, but so there has been some movement by the city alderman to move in that direction, but it's probably going to be, I would anticipate, up by the Pleasant Hill City Lake Road. There'll be growth there, and there's going to be growth across the road from that.
I was always wondering where are we going next.
Yeah.
What's our next step in Pleasant Hill? We've grown quite a bit in the last 20 years since I've been here 26 years. So tell me a little bit about what you were talking about before we got on, because that's interesting. You were talking about the egg farm, or the chick farm, or whatever you were talking about.
True Lines Poultry Farm was a large operation. Eden Booth was, I think, the president of that, and what they were doing was they were developing better chickens through breeding programs, and they got to where at one time they were shipping chickens and so forth to various continents in
around the world.
Yes, and so that was one of the things. And then we had the flowers. Amanda had the big flower developing business. The nursery, and so we had a big nursery, which is where. Off of Wright Street, if you go west, all of that in there was part of the nursery. And so the Mandas were very important in that area. So,
wow.
And after Booth left, then the Irwins were that ran the poultry business.
What happened to it?
I think probably things developed and more people got involved, and there wasn't the need for it anymore. One of the people that was moved here was Jack. I can't remember his last name, but he moved here with Colonial Poultry Farms because he was a big chicken specialist from back east, and he raised his family. His 2 youngest boys went to school with my son here. One of them was a state wrestling champion, and that was Gordon and Gary, and I'm not blank.
As you walk out the building today, you're going to say, "Oh, I know the name."
Yes,
right?
yes. And Mary Jane Hill was her last name.
Hill.
Mary Jane Hill was involved with the
Pleasant Hill.
with the United Way, and
Yeah.
so I got acquainted with her there.
So, when did they decide to call the football team the Roosters?
The Roosters was probably named after the poultry.
Well,
Yes,
that's what I'm
but
thinking.
I'm not sure what date that goes back to.
yeah.
But I think it was back in the 30s.
I'm wondering who had that idea. Oh, let's just be the Roosters.
Oh. Well, one thing about it, I have found that I've never run into any other rooster mascots. So
Well, when I moved to Pleasant Hill, I'm like, we're the what?
yeah, we're the.
Because I'm used to a cougar, tigers,
I
bears.
used to kid and say
Rooster.
we were just 1-0 or 1-0 from being a roster, but we're we're roosters. So
Yeah, well, and what's interesting is we're not chicken.
no, we're the
not
fighting.
chicken. We're the fighting roosters. That's
yes.
right.
In fact, I was fortunate in my high school days because that was one of the eras when our football team was. We have highs and lows, and we have good athletes all the time. But if you get a lot of good athletes all at the same time, then you've got those chances for. And I got to play on an undefeated football team back
Did you really?
in the fall of 1960. So that was
What
good.
position did you play?
On that team, I was a defensive halfback. And so that was great. I wasn't a senior that year, but I was a senior the following year. But that was and that was our team was 10-0, and so we were undefeated before playoffs, and so it was just they just rated us. They said, well, from Columbia on west, we think that you're about the 8th best team in the state of Missouri. So that was we just got a ranking.
So, what was your coach's name?
Coach Vic Rapp.
Wow, 1960.
Yes. He was an interesting fellow. He was, if you were with him, you definitely knew he was in charge. He was a little All-American lineman. He actually, the only high school coaching he did was at Pleasant Hill. He was here 7 years, and then he went to Arizona and to Missouri and went to, I think, the Edmonton Eskimos in Canada and became a head coach up there and won the Grey Cup, and then he went to the NFL and he coached there. So he was, I would say that our coaching was ahead of its time.
10-0. Have we ever been 10-0 since?
I don't know that we've ever been undefeated on a 10-0. In 67, I think, somewhere in there, we had another undefeated team because the 60s were there was a lot of good athletes come through here. I think they were 9-0 that year.
Wow.
And then of course after that they brought in the state tournaments and stuff, and so now unless you're the state champion, there's not a chance to go 10-0.
Well, they have class divisions.
Yeah, and they have class divisions and stuff now. So
I just interviewed Justin Hamilton because we're having a pretty good year this year.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. They've had a good year. I think a couple of losses and maybe only a point or so. And so
like 48-49. I mean, and they're all exciting to watch because
Yeah.
they're so close. I mean, I
Yeah.
love it when they're close because then you're just glued.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, So tell me a little bit about your kids.
My children?
Your children.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, my oldest daughter lives in Gardner, her and her husband. He's a retired major from the Johnson County Sheriff's Department, and they lived there. They had 4 children, and
Did he grow up here?
he did not grow up here.
Oh, he
grew up
didn't.
in Higginsville.
Okay.
That was one of my stops as a high school principal.
Oh.
So that
okay.
So
okay.
that was.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children.
3 children. Okay.
I have,
Did any of them grow up here?
My son Steve went 2 years to school here when I moved back in
Okay.
80. So he
Okay.
graduated in 82.
82, right?
And so he graduated from Pleasant Hill.
Okay.
And then my youngest daughter, she lives in Kansas City. And she has worked with nonprofit groups. She's been in charge of the Scott Joplin Festival in Sedalia.
Is she a musician?
she is not a musician, but she is. She gets involved, and right now she's working.
But why Scott Joplin?
She happened to be in Sedalia, and they needed somebody to be their spokesperson and to organize things, and so she did that for several years.
There you go.
And then she moved to Kansas City and has done a lot of the same things.
If there was one thing we could add to Pleasant Hill, what would it be? He's thinking.
I think that probably there's always room for additional activities for young people, and so
we are 18% of our population is 10 and under.
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize how many children are here.
Yeah, there's a lot of children here, a lot of families, and people see this as a good place to raise families. And so I think we can continue to improve our facilities for children. It's when I grew up, we just ran all over town, and we played, and when dark came, we were supposed to be home so we could eat. But, with changes in time and stuff.
Well, today that would be like 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Well,
because of the time change.
Yeah, and we have more. It seems like we have less freedom to just move around. We're a little more concerned about our children, and most of their activities is more organized. So we have a lot of organized activities where we just went to the ball field and played. Went to the churchyard and played wiffle ball.
We hung out under the street
something.
light.
Yeah.
The street lights came on, all our friends were under the street light.
Yep,
I remember that. Or we were out playing kickball or dark tag, just some fun things. Now, they're all on their phones and whatnot. But, so it would be nice if there was some good activities around. I think you're right. I think that would be good. So it was really nice having you.
Well, thank you.
This is Jim Purvis, Reese Nichols, and you and your wife are real estate agents here, and you are very involved in Pleasant Hill. I see that you are, and
I enjoy seeing people, and I enjoy seeing people succeed. I've always felt like that. I'd like to think I'm an enabler, and that by knowing me, I can maybe help somebody to be able to do better.